Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Debe Islamic Association's Ramadan Reminders. This year we'll be looking at the explanation of chapter 2, Surah Baqarah, the chapter of the cow. And we'll be focusing on Allah's knowledge, which is the second major theme in this surah. This follows last year's series in which we looked at faith versus disbelief. Today we'll be looking at ayahs 274 and 75. Since we're in the last 10 days of Ramadan, the days of emancipation from the hellfire, let's recite the recommended dua for such. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma ajurni minan nar. O Allah, save me from the fire of hell.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا فمن جاءه موعظة من ربه فانتهى فله ما سلف وأمره إلى الله ومن عاد فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون.
In our first objective in today's discussion, we look at the reward for charity, and this can be explained further in page 67 of the second volume of Ibn Kathir. And the reward for charity deals with an increased status. As Allah speaks about the reward for charity, with respect to the righteous believers who pay zakat, he says in ayah 274, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً. الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ. Those who nafaqa, those who spend their amwal, their wealth, in the path of Allah, Bil-layl wan-nahar, by layl, by night, and by day. Sirra, secretly, wa-alaniyah, and publicly. So, there are those who will try and give charity anytime, in the open, hidden. And what does he say about them? فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ إِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. فَلَهُمْ, for them there is ajr, there is reward, إِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, with their Lord. So this ayah praises those who spend in charity for Allah's sake, seeking His pleasure, including what one spends on his family. So charity on a whole is called sadaqah, and specifically the one that's giving for their family is called sila. So there are two rewards when you help those close to you. It is considered both sila and sadaqah. And Allah concludes the ayah where He says, وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. وَلَا خَوْفٌ, and there is no fear, عَلَيْهِمْ, upon them. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, and there is no reason to grieve. So there's a hadith which is reported in both Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, where the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, وَإِنَّكَ لَن تُنْفِقَ تَنْفَقَةً تَبْتَغِي بِهَا وَجْهَ اللَّهِ. You will not spend charity with which you seek Allah's face, that is your intention, illa, but you will ascend a higher degree and your status because of it. So this is evidence which supports the fact that giving charity increases us in status and a higher degree if our intention is to please Allah. And it goes on, hatta ma taj'alu fi fimra'atik, including what you put in your wife's mouth. Even feeding her is a form of charity. Our last objective for today's discussion deals with prohibition of usury, which is found in page 69 in his explanation of Al-Quran. And this shows that the poverty gap increases between those who are rich and those who are poor. So after the last ayah, where Allah spoke about those who are righteous with their charity, Allah now mentions the punishment for those dealing with riba, interest or usury. And He says, الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ الرِّبَا وَلَا يَقُومُونَ. الَّذِينَ, those who consume riba, those who consume interest, la, cannot, yakumun, they cannot stand on the last day. Illa kama yakumul ladhi yataqabbatuhu ash-shaytanu min al-mas. Illa, except, kama yakumul ladhi, except that they stand just as those who are being beaten by shaitan, min al-mas, to the point where they're becoming insane. So there's a hadith which reports about the dream that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam had, where he said, we reached a river. I thought he said that the river was red as blood, and found a man swimming in the river. And on its back there was another man standing with a large collection of stones next to him. The man in the river would swim, then come to the man who had collected the stones and open his mouth. And the other man would throw a stone in his mouth. So the explanation of this dream was that the person in the river was the one who had consumed interest or usury. So Allah now continues the ayah telling us about those who dwell in riba and what they say. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَا. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا, that is because they say, إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ, the trade is just like riba. وَأَحَلُّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. Ahlullah, but Allah has made it halal. He has permitted bay'a, He has permitted trade, while He has made haram the riba, while He has forbidden the interest. Allah knows what benefits His servants, so He allows it for them. And He knows what harms them, so He forbids them from what harms them. He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a Rahman. He is entirely merciful. He is more merciful with them than even a mother with her own infant. Allah now continues where He says, فَمَنْ جَاءَهُ مَوْئِذَةٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ فَانْتَهَى فَلَهُ مَا سَلَفَ وَأَمْرُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. فَمَنْ جَاءَهُ, so whoever has received an admonition مِّن رَبِّهِ, from his Lord, فَأَنْتَهَى فَلَهُ, and what does he do? He stops and he desists from participating in riba. What will happen to them? They may have what is past, and his affair rests with Allah. So those who recognize that they were in error and immediately correct it, Allah is most merciful. وَمَنْ آدَى فَأُولَئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. وَمَنْ آدَى فَأُولَئِكَ, but whoever returns to what they were doing before, dealing in interest or usury, participating in riba willingly, what will happen to them? Those are ashabun nar. Those will be the sahaba, the companions of the nar, of the fire. Hum fiha khalidun, and they will abide in it forever, eternally. So those, even though they were warned, they continue to err willfully. They continue to deal with this haram riba, will get their punishment as destined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Al-Muqsit, the most just? When this last part was revealed, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Man lam yadiril mukabarah, whoever does not refrain from sharecropping, then let him receive a notice of war. From whom? Min Allahi wa Rasulihi, from Allah and His Messenger. This is the level of fear and concern we must have if we're dealing with riba. All of the following were prohibited to eradicate the possibility that riba might be involved somehow. For the quality and equity of such items are only known after they become dry. Mukarraba, sharecropping, includes farming land in return for some of its produce. Even that is considered as such. Trading fresh dates, which is still on the trees, with dry dates already on the ground. One is sure and one is not. Trading produce which has not yet been harvested. And Abu Hurairah reported that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam had said in this hadith, Ar-riba sab'una huba. Riba is of sab'a, of sab'una. Riba is of 70 types. The least of these 70 types is of which is equal to having sexual intercourse with his own mother. We have now come to the end of part 24, where we discussed the reward for charity, which deals with the increased status, and we discussed the prohibition of usury, which causes the poverty gap to increase. In preparation for tomorrow, we suggest you read the following two ayahs, ayahs 276 and 77. We now end with the recommended dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim. Our Lord, accept this service from us, for indeed you are all hearing, all knowing. Assalamu alaikum